consult with any of the automakers. This is going to be terrible for not only just all the people of Ontario, but especially the auto manufacturers, the supply chain. We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S., and I don't think that's going to go over too well with President Trump, but it's going to hurt every single auto manufacturer, every single supply chain that has anything to do with the auto sector. This was not thought out properly. It wasn't consulted. It was a knee-jerk reaction as far as I'm concerned, and this is going to be a big, big problem.
But the Prime Minister is simply reverting back to what was already in place in 2024. Why was it okay then, and why is it bad today?
Well, again, this is a Chinese government that doesn't respect labor laws, that doesn't respect making cars environmentally friendly, they basically making it with coal. They're heavily subsidized, totally against all the auto workers here in Ontario and across the country. This is not a good situation for the auto sector as a whole.
So what is it going to mean, do you think, for the future of the auto sector in Canada? And you had mentioned earlier this week that it could jeopardize the talks with U.S. President Donald Trump. What effect do you think it'll have?
Well, first of all, anyone who buys these cars, they won't be allowed to go to the U.S. Cybersecurity. I call it the spy car that they're bringing in, and they won't be allowed to get over there. And it's going to tick off the Americans. 80% of our autos are going down there. I believe that speaking to the auto sector, speaking to the supply chain as well, they were coming up with a collaborative agreement, but now throw China in here for what? They aren't going to manufacture here. So it's just a terrible, terrible, miscalculated decision by the Prime Minister.
Have you had a conversation with him since? And
No.
If you do get on the phone with him, what are you going to say?
I'm going to say the exact same thing. What I said right here. This wasn't thought out. No consultation at all. He always preaches partnership. This is anything but a partnership, and it's totally unacceptable that he's bringing in Chinese-made cars and that are totally subsidized. They're going to undermine every auto manufacturer here.
But canola, it was a trade-off for canola. You can see where
Number one, I don't believe in pegging one part of the country against another, one sector versus the other. We should be taking care of both. Good friends, closest ally, Scott Moe. I think it's great. That's fine. Along with our East Coast premiers on the lobster, but it's just really annihilated the auto sector. They start off with always saying 3%. Ask people in Brazil what happens to 3%, turns into 37%. Ask the people over in Europe when these Chinese subsidized spy cars are brought into their country, they're subsidized. And they undermine every single auto worker out there. I've had an opportunity, and I'll continue to talk to Atlanta Payne from Unifor. I'll be reaching out to all the auto manufacturers here and the supply chain folks. I've also spoke to a few of them.
You call these spy cars, but the only vehicles